Okay, good morning. This is my Husqvarna lawn tractor. I've had trouble with the drive. Initially it showed up. It was very slow in reverse, especially when trying to reverse up a hill. So you have the foot pedal here for reverse. It'd be very slow. Sometimes it'd be okay, it'd be slow to pick up. Once it got moving, it was okay. Forward seemed to be okay. It jumped belt once. Put it back on. I wasn't sure why that happened. And just recently, day before yesterday, I put it in, I start putting it in drive forward and jerk, 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 jerk until it got going, as if the belt had a lot of slack. At that point, I thought, I've got to really get to the root of this. So let me share with you my diagnostic journey. Over the past month, I've looked at a number of things on websites and tried different things, looked at different things, and I was to the point I was thinking I'd have to yank the transmission, that there was something wrong with it. Let me explain further. It's a 2013 model. It's a YTH24K. That is 24 horse Kohler with a 48-inch deck. It's been well used. I don't baby it at all. It's worked fairly well. But this past summer, maybe the past 2 months, maybe 3 months, I started to notice some symptoms and some problems with drive. I will review right now just what I looked at, and my eventual fix was nothing I had seen on any website, or rather in any YouTube video. First of all, linkage. This whole thing's got a pivot up here. There's a rod going back to a lever on the transmission. Here's the parts manual that came with the tractor. We look up at the pedal mechanism. You can see how you rock that lever forward. You get forward gear, and you rock it back with your heel, push it down, you get reverse. Then the rod goes back to the transmission and pushes on a lever. If it pulls the lever forward, you're going forward. If it pushes it backwards, you're going in reverse. And so if the pivot, something's messed up down here, looseness. It can affect whether you're fully engaging into, say, reverse or forward. The rod could be bent. The lever on the transmission, something could be loose there. Just to note, this is what they call, it's a tough torque hydrostatic drive, TUFF-TORQ. That's what's in Husqvarna. There is at least one other major manufacturer, I forget the name, but they're all very similar. Besides linkage, the other thing indicated or could be causing this would be low fluid. It runs a motor oil, a 10W, I think it's 10W30 motor oil, multi-weight, and in the fluid drive. If it is low, you'll have air, you won't be pumping fluid, and it could lose power. And would explain why it's very slow to go on a hill, but it might reverse on level ground. For me to check that, even to check it, to change it, you drop the transmission. There are some folks that have done some things like drill and tap it in place, let it drain, and they've got a drain plug now on it. But they still have to work out a way to somehow reach in with small hands and get at a fill plug and maybe use a hose and so on. So I hadn't got to that point. I was thinking this winter I'm going to have to drop the transmission if all else fails and see what's wrong with it. So pedal was number one, pedal of linkage, the transmission fluid level. The other thing that is a possible fix, if you have transmission fluid level problem and you're getting aeration, there is a procedure to de-aerate it. I'm going to move this. This is my little I can lower, depending whether I want to shoot far away or not blow. I have this little arrangement here. To do the de-aeration process, you'll have some kind of lever or something here. To do the de-aeration process, on this one model, you pull it out like this, and it takes everything out of drive. You can push and unroll the thing. It's not in drive. You get on, you start the motor, and then with the pedals, you go hold it. I forget long time, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then on the heel for reverse, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. You keep doing that many times. And you may find that, hey, to be sure you do that, repeat that process 10 times or so. Then you reach back. Ugh. There we go. Put it back in gear, and at which point basically you try drive. And sometimes, hey, I thought that might actually help, but it doesn't really. It's very short-lived, and it didn't seem to make that much difference. So that's a third thing that was recommended, was try the de-aeration process. One other thing is there is a belt. And so there's yet the belt to check. And I did check the belt. It seems to be in reasonable condition, but it could be stretched. So I bought a brand new belt. And this was about $27 Canadian for an aftermarket belt. You can get them for about 2-3 times that price if you're going to try and get the OEM, but they're all pretty much the same. I think this one is 98.5 inch long, and it's a 1/2 inch belt, I think, V-belt. But I bought this because I thought that's what I'm going to change. Turns out I don't need this because I found the real problem. So yesterday, the belt came off the second time that I've ever had it come off. No drive, and I thought, and it was too hard to get at with the mower in place, so I took the mower off. The mower needed cleaning anyhow. I inspected the belt, looked okay, but that's when I ordered the new belt, just to have it in case. But we came in, and I found something peculiar. And what it was is this bracket. There's a bracket here. That's actually the front support for the transmission. The bolts numbered 125 mount the bracket to the side rails. Bolt number 27 mounts the front of the transmission to the cross bracket. And that right there, screw was missing, and this bracket was down here. So it was about 1.5 inches off position. It could flop back and forth. It was still pretty rigid because it's held at the other end. But every time you would put torque on it, forward, reverse, more so I think reverse, this thing would shift and your belt would slip. That's really what the whole problem was. Slipping belt due to a missing bolt on a transmission mount. So we'll try and get a better picture here. Here are a few pictures to orient you. This is the cross bracket underneath between the two frame rails. Now we'll work up to the lever area and the rod. There's the rod, and there's the lever that rotates on the transmission. And finally, we're going to show you here, there's the front transmission mount. There's a little bracket there. This is the cross bracket, the transmission, rod for forward, reverse, and the V-belt from the motor. So to summarize, if you've got drive problems, forward or reverse, yeah, you can look at the linkage here and back on the transmission. You can consider whether you've got low oil or not, which you can't do much about unless you drop the transmission. If you suspect there's aeration, you can try that thing there where you press the pedals back and forth, do that procedure to flush the air out, to de-aerate it. You can look at the belt condition. You can buy a new belt and put it on. While you're at it, you'll look at it and you'll see if it's correctly routed and so on. But look at your transmission mounts, bolts everywhere, and see if that solves your problem. Okay, good luck if you're having trouble.